Hello my friends and welcome. My name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. So we have the recent release of the tactical maps. Let me show you them. So this is Donbas, the eastern side of Ukraine. Here we have Lysychansk, Slavyansk, Kramatorsk and Bakhmut. You can see that the fighting is ongoing mostly for that very important city. I would say for now it is not important from the tactical perspective, but important if we speak about the current situation around the city, mostly from political point of view, because their Russians are trying to show to their own people that they're still capable to capture cities. This city is not very big, 70,000 people used to live there. From Ukrainian side, it's important to defend the city and show that we can withstand our ground, and many people lost their lives there, and it's the symbol for Ukrainian society, for Ukrainian army, that we are fighting to defend the Bakhmut. But from the tactical perspective, yes, it's the important crossroad, but if Russia takes Bakhmut, still they cannot reach very fast Kramatorsk and Slavyansk, because there are many small villages on the way. There are no main roads. The bridge on M03 road in the north part from the Bakhmut was blown up, and Ukrainians claim that it was the Russian forces which blown up the bridge, and Russians say that it was Ukrainian side. And still we don't have the information. Probably those were Russians, because Ukraine used that road for the reinforcements to send them to the Bakhmut area, and now with the bridge destroyed, we cannot send them across the river, and firstly they need to go to Bakhmut and then to Pidhirno village. So if you look at the Russian assault, you can see that they have three of the direction: the north one, the central and the south. They use two of the directions from the north and south to encircle the Bakhmut city, but still with the resources they have, I see this task as unreal. And the most success they have, actually recently, it happened recently, they took part of the city, some of the city quarters, and they entered the residential area 3 days ago. So this is the most successful way for them, just straight attack. They waste lots of the soldier lives, but still with the push, with the massive superiority that they still have in artillery, they move forward over there. And speaking about the battalions that Russia uses over there, mostly it is the private military army Wagner group. Those soldiers are well trained, they have better equipment, and most of all they have much better discipline compared to the regular Russian army. And also Wagner belongs to Prigozhin, and that is why Prigozhin may have some influence on Putin, showing the successes on the front lines. And that is why, no matter on their losses, they will continue to attack the Bakhmut city to show Putin the result. And potentially, if Russia somehow will renew their resources, we may have one more big attack in February or January on the eastern side of Ukraine and also on Kyiv. At least our generals told about it. The command chief general Zaluzhny told about it in the interview to Economist. Because Russia is now accumulating resources, and moreover they will announce the new mobilization together around 200 soldiers, and for that attack they will obviously use the eastern part of Ukraine, the second try to get Kyiv under their control, the closer look in Bakhmut. And Russia has some success here recently. In 2 weeks they moved forward for 1 kilometer or something. Here they don't have any success on the north, and it's great for us. The bridge was blown up, it's not good, and they have success with a straightforward attack. But also Ukrainian army is on a counterattack in the Bakhmut city. We have the blue vector over here, and so far we don't know the result of that counterattack, but if we able to do so, it means that we have enough resources to withstand nowadays the Russian attack. But Russia obviously may send new reinforcements to the area, and that's the city itself. So Russia penetrated our defense line over here, and they capture few of the quarters of the private residential area over here. And still urban fighting is not a good side of Russia. That's why they try to eliminate all of the buildings, to ground level them, and that will make their pass successful. But now still we have enough obstacles, natural obstacles of the city itself, to fight in a city. So the encirclement of the city, I think it's not real. If Russia would accumulate enough resources, they may try to capture this part of the city, and maybe they'll have success in it, but still it doesn't influence the strategic goal of the Russian Federation to capture the whole Ukraine. Actually, this city is not that big, but still we're gonna fight for it and defend it. The main thing that we are capable for the counterattack on the southeast part of the city, and it's a good sign, my friends. As for the Donetsk city, here we have some of the fighting in the city suburbs. As you can see, Russia captured before our defense lines. It happened around 2 months ago, and still they do not move forward as fast as near to the Bakhmut suburbs. Here and there they still have some of the fightings, and Avdiivka, we have a very strong defense lines here. And this map shows the concentration of the fighting on the eastern side in Donbas mostly, and it also shows that Russia is in lack of resources to go on attacks on the south part of Ukraine. And we have the confirmed information that Ukraine is gathering the forces for the counterattack on Melitopol. What is bad for Russia if we take Melitopol? First of all, they gathered lots of their logistics over there, and the biggest ammunition depots actually on the south are located in Melitopol. So if we capture the city, we may also capture the Russian supplies. And also, if Ukrainian mission is successful, we're gonna cut Russians into two parts. So first part is here in Kherson region, the second part will be over here, and there will be no communication line between those two Russian groups. And Melitopol itself is the key to get the access for Crimea. If we cut supplies for Crimea, sorry, it's just a matter of time, then we're gonna go into the peninsula. Russians know that, and that's why they also send new reinforcements to the Zaporizhian area, but they have problems because we have the HIMARS rocket artillery systems, very effective, and that's why in a recent week you might have seen the news about the Russian command centers, Russian казарms, barracks that were totally destroyed by the HIMARS rockets. So we're gonna see how the situation may develop in the future, and for now, let's go for the recent news and events. And just now we have the report about the big explosion in Lugansk region. This is the Russian controlled territory, and it's said that ammunition depot just blown up with the help of something. Maybe someone smoked at the wrong place, or maybe it was the HIMARS artillery. And one more image from the different perspective. So for sure it was the ammunition depot over there. It was a big interview that is published on Economist, as I told you, of our chief commander General Valery Zaluzhny, and he said that they got rid of 10 Ukrainian generals who were in lack of competence since the war started. He also said that one general finished his life himself, let's say like that, and also he said that Russia is preparing for one more big jump, and they concentrate all the forces they have for possible January or February attack, maybe March. I also think that Belarusia, or Belarus as you call it, may join the conflict on the Russian side for the second try of the Russian army to capture the Kyiv. Yes, it may happen in February, and now from what I see from the Belarusian Telegram groups, opposition groups, that Belarusian men are getting the army notices if there is the war to go and fight. So it is happening massively. That is why it may happen with a high probability. The main thing that we know about it, and from what I see, that our Western allies are helping us more, and promises for Ukraine are fantastic. For sure, we're gonna get long-range missiles and more air defense systems. Without the air superiority, Russia cannot win this war. And again, the statement of our defense minister that Putin is preparing major offensive in New Year. So February, as I say to you, is the month for the possible Russian invasion again. But I guess it will be go-no-go decision for Putin, because if he loses that attack, he will obviously lose this war. And about the ammunition, I told you before that Russia is running out of the calibers that they use for the artillery. Mostly they use 122mm and 152mm shells. I just check out their resources. Mostly they start to produce the shells for the new generation of the systems, but they don't have those systems actively in their army. They have old calibers, but they change already for the new calibers, so they are in lack of those shells. That is why now they just started the production of the shells, and that is why we see the shells are coming from dated from this year, and simply they're running out of ammo. You might have thought that they have the storages from the Soviet army, but no, with the corruption that they have, they sold all of that to other countries, to North Korea and other allies, let's say. Also, they had conflicts in Georgia, Ukraine in 2014, and Chechnya, so they already used the large number of the shells, and for this war it's calculated that they have already been used millions of the shells for their firewall tactics. And because their artillery systems use the shells quite often, they require repair jobs, so they're running out of the artillery, and obviously that is why Putin is preparing. Then they still have some resources. He wants to gather them and attack Ukraine once again with the biggest attack possible. But the bad thing for Putin that we know his scenario and we are getting ready for it, and with the Western help, with our allies, we're gonna win this war obviously. So Putin will lose. 200,000 soldiers is not enough to capture Kyiv. All of his professional army mostly was destroyed in Ukrainian war. Now mobilized soldiers, Wagner army, they don't make the big difference in this conflict, and also they lost quite a lot of the weaponry here. So I'm sure that Russia will lose this war, and I can bet everything for it, and world understands it, and moreover Putin's circle understands that. There was the question for the President Zelensky in his recent interview whether this war may be over in case of Putin's death, and President Zelensky said yes. So it may be the sign for the Putin circle to act. So guys, do something with your crazy guy, and we're gonna negotiate with you how to finish this war. And again, President Zelensky told that if Putin will return to the borders of 1991, the recognized borders of Ukraine, including Crimea, he will extend his own life, so ruling of the Russia, and the life of his circle. He said that in that case we may go to diplomacy. Also, General Zaluzhny in his interview said that there is enough people in Ukrainian army and we don't need to have more, maybe in some certain areas. Also, Zaluzhny said about the Russian mobilization, he said it's some sort of the fake that Russians are not willing to fight. Yes, they're fighting for Putin. Tsar tells them to go for war and they go to war. They may not be that well equipped, but they still present a problem for us. We estimate that they have reserve of 1.5 million people. And here he says that with fresh 200,000 people, I have no doubt that they will have another go at Kyiv. So we're getting ready for that second attack. And I highly recommend you to read out this interview. It's Very interesting. Ben Wallace, the UK Minister of Defense, says that they include in the next package for Ukraine the long-range missiles that can reach 560 kilometers of range, and those are air-based rockets, and probably we already have them in the army. They were delivered to Ukraine, I think, by Poland, and now we'll have more from UK. Thanks. This is Tomashova airfield in Russia, and this is Antonov-12 cargo airplane that is used also to deliver weaponry for the Russian army, and somehow it got the fire probably on the wing. You can see the fuel dripping, and there is the fire brigade that eliminates the fire. I think nothing serious happened to the airplane, maybe unfortunately if it's used to deliver weaponry, and even my grandpa used to fly that Antonov-12 airplane. Tony Rodekin, the head of UK Armed Forces, says that Russia is losing in Ukraine, and his prediction that Russia will lose this war, and they have tactical losses, they have strategic losses. So I believe that prediction, my friends, and I see the similar stuff. If they try the second big attack, obviously they're gonna lose it 100%. And United States start to work on the Russian ban in United Nations. They say that Russia violated regulations of United Nations. They started the biggest war since the Second World War. They put the world at risk of the nuclear conflict, and that is why they need to get out from United Nations. Moreover, Russia was not elected as a member of United Nations after Soviet Union collapse. Basically, they took their seat, that's it. Ukraine was presented there, and many ex-Soviet republics, but Russian Soviet Republic wasn't there in United Nations. They just came across after the Soviet Union collapse. According to procedure, it should not have been done like that. More explosions in Russia. This time it's the oil factory there and the oil supply line in Irkutsk, Siberia. Colonel General Alexander Syrsky, the commander of the ground troops of Ukraine, said that the rate how the artillery shells are used in this war similar to the Second World War. And he said that the key factor for winning is to produce the shells and deliver them to the artillery systems as fast as possible, and the side that will do it faster wins this war. It's very interesting since we have lots of the generals, Minister of Defense, President Zelensky gave the interview to The Economist almost at the same time. This guy was fighting for the Russian Wagner army. He said that he was hired for 4 months, but later he discovered that his contract was changed for 8 months and he didn't sign it. That is why he went back to the Russian Federation, saying that there were executions in a Wagner group and they behave very badly with their soldiers, and that is why he is seeking for protection from President Putin and from Russian law. But actually there are some reports that this guy was already captured by the Wagner soldiers and probably he will be executed. And I personally don't have any sort of the pity feelings towards that guy. No, because he voluntarily went to Ukraine to kill Ukrainians, and he didn't say that he done something wrong with that. He said that just conditions were terrible, but he's still okay with the war crimes he did. He said that he didn't violate the law, he done everything okay over there. So if Wagner will do something with their trader, I don't care. My friends, I'm gonna keep you updated on the situation in Ukraine. If you want to support this channel, just press the like button. If you want to support me financially, there are some of the links in the video description below. You may support me on Patreon, PayPal or Donatella, whichever is more convenient for you. Thank you so much for your kind support. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are. Have a great time.